start with approving minutes from our May 16th, 2022 and October 17th, 2022 meetings. Do you have a motion to approve, or are there any things you need to pull out, or? I guess we must down.
Yeah, it was missed, so I put it on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know we've met since then.
Yeah. I'll make that motion.
Right, second. Katie, you want a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's done. So we're here now, we have to wait 5 minutes? We have to wait 5 minutes. We'll wait 4 minutes. And we'll be having public hearing on rezoning. The first rezoning is NB2 properties at, is it 209
Yep, 209.
Garfield or Pomeroy?
Garfield.
Is that both properties that we're doing the first hearing on? Together?
Can. Two different owners.
So Jean, if you want to, I can go through the building permit stuff and.
Let's do that.
Informational stuff.
Yep.
So you'll see that the building permits report that are on there, the outstanding inspections, you'll see that it has decreased. We have been actively sending expiration letters. If there has been no activity in 6 months, we have the right to expire them. We have extended a few permits that they are working on. And you'll also see too that October and November were fairly active. We had 20 permits in October and November. So, you know, in 45 days, which is good because we are down in permits, but you'll see both of those reports there. The other thing is the planning and zoning training. I did reach out. Katie had wanted some formal training. She thought that was a good idea. I did run it past the mayor. He thought that was an awesome idea. I reached out to the League of Minnesota Cities, and I have been working with a lady there that does their training, Jamie Oxley, and she has a 1-hour webinar. And so we have a couple options. We're thinking that we would hold that 1-hour webinar at our next meeting. And then following that, we would have, I would give you an online interactive session to do, which is about an hour. But you could do it on your own time at home. Otherwise, I could have computers set up here, and you could, like for maybe a 3-hour or 4-hour time slot, and you can come to City Hall, take it, and just go home at your convenience. So what's your thought on that? The council, we're going to do the same thing with the council.
Who is the vendor and how many seats are available?
Pardon me?
Do you know who the vendor is that's putting the training?
League of Minnesota Cities.
Right, but who is the entity?
Jen Burkett. He is the land use attorney for the league.
Oh, so they have their own video that they create. Is
Yes.
that, okay. So
Yep. So it's you know, an hour-long webinar. He's actually speaking through the whole webinar. Then we would do the 1-hour interactive, and then that interactive is brand new for their platform. And if we could be their guinea pigs, we can take it for free. Otherwise, it's $15 a person. After we get done with it, all the other cities are going to have to pay $15.
Wow.
As long as we give them feedback on what we thought about the interactive part. And just for 30 seconds, and then if we think we still need more, then they would bring somebody out. And we would probably invite a few other cities to join us.
Now, this 1-hour webinar, does he allow time to ask questions and stuff? Do you
Nope, this is just a webinar. And what you'd want to do is write down your questions.
For the interactive part?
For the interactive part, or for when he would come out if we thought that was the next step we wanted to do.
Okay.
So we can think about it, and then we can talk more about it at the end of the meeting.
Or in between hearings?
Or in between.
Okay. And we now will open our public hearing. And it's property, ND2 Properties LLC has requested that the property be rezoned from its current status as R1 single or two-family residential to C2 highway commercial. They've already demolished the rental house. It said within 90 days, but it's already been done. And the property would be fenced and used for parking and storage. And nobody's here for the hearing except Nick. Do we?
So, Nick, can you confirm that the house has been demoed?
The house is 95% completed today.
Okay.
So,
So this is also, if you drove past the property, and I'm not for or against the rezone, I'm just telling you, this was a house that used to be a rental property. There was some, maybe some not so great activities happening out of this house, and the house wasn't in perfect condition. Is that all true, Nick? So they want to expand their business, and they own the lot. A few of the partners own the lot of Avon Plastics, and they want to
it'll be
rezone
used
it.
for outside storage. Finished goods only. It won't be used for raw materials.
And this is the property at 209 Garfield, right?
209 is the current rental, 205.
Is the one you just demolished.
209 is the one we just demolished.
209 is the one they demolished.
209 is the one that's
205 we are not demolishing.
The property taxes off that residential lot is $1,100.
Yeah, probably less now because there's no prop building.
Yeah, it says here, the property 205, the property tax was $13.22. And then the 209 that was just demolished is $9.38.
So how much is 205?
$13.22 in the previous tax year.
Okay.
And the one that was just demolished was $9.38, which now, I mean, obviously,
It's an empty lot.
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Could you bring up that, the picture on the screen? Or is-
These screens
These are
are
not in.
Oh, they're not, okay. Okay.
Hopefully, it's a blue screen soon.
So the lot in question is on page 16 of your packet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it there.
And none of the neighbors in the neighborhood.
I received no phone calls, no letters for or against the rezone. And everybody within 350 feet of all three of the named properties were notified.
Well, actually, it's an improvement to the property.
So all of the people in the neighborhood across the street, Zimmerman's,
Yep.
Dollhouse,
Within
Books.
350 feet, yes, they will receive a letter.
The whole block.
Well, a little more than the whole block, yeah.
Yeah, more. Yeah.
How wide are roads usually?
22?
Yeah, except for a few of them, but yeah.
What's the question?
The road
How
width.
wide are
Garfield?
It would be one of the smaller ones.
Garfield is a 66-foot platted street. Garfield Avenue is 66-foot platted.
It was bigger than I thought.
Did somebody already make a motion and we're in discussion?
We need to close the public hearing
That's
first.
supposed to be hearing. We're in a hearing right now. And we don't need to do a motion at this time. We have to go through the facts and finding first. Correct, Jennifer?
And I sent it out to
Get
29 people.
Okay. If there's nothing more for the hearing, I'll close the hearing and we'll reopen the meeting and we'll do the facts and finding, which are only 3 items. At the public hearing, members of the public were given an opportunity to provide comments regarding the request for rezoning. There was no opposition from the public, because nobody was here and we didn't hear anything. Okay, the planning board, having considered the request for rezoning together with public comment, the owner's long-term plans for use of the property, reasons for the requested rezoning, and the zoning of the surrounding properties, believes that the property should be rezoned as requested by the property owner from its current zoning to R1 single and two-family residential to C2 highway commercial, or should not be rezoned as requested by the property owner. That would be a vote on our part. Josh? Should be. Katie?
I'm going to say no.
Okay. And I say yes, so that's... Okay, and so the recommendation, the planning board recommends that the request for rezoning of the property described above be granted so that the property is rezoned, et cetera, et cetera. Denied so the property remains R1 single and two family. So, granted? And you wish not to grant?
Denied.
Okay. And I granted, so that's passed. Okay, we got 3 minutes till the next hearing.
Can you make a formal motion on that?
Oh, yes. I'll make the motion. I'll go ahead and make the motion that the planning board recommends the request for rezoning of the property granted so that the property is rezoned from its current zoning of R1 single and two-family residential to C2 highway commercial district.
I'll second it.
Okay, and Josh seconded it. All those in favor?
I would like to discuss just a little bit.
Okay. You can-
So if you're looking at the houses that are on the other side of the road, all those property values are going to go down because that's what happens when a commercial district expands into a
Well, not
neighborhood.
necessarily when the property across the road was so bad. Ed already brought the properties down, whereas now it's going to be fenced and it's going to be, more attractive.
Yeah, so over long-term processes of ebb and flow of communities, eventually those, if there was not a commercial area on the other side, what would happen is eventually those lots would be sold and turned back into residential or housing, and that property would have a house built on it, even though the previous one was just torn down. So when I look to the neighborhood that's on the other side, I see a neighborhood. I don't see investment properties. I don't see rentals. I see homes. Like those are our homes. And we have very low housing stock within the Painesville area. And we are in desperate need of affordable housing and housing within the Painesville area. And so a better use of that land would be to, maybe work with, is that Nick? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Nick, work with Nick to perhaps put some residential tiny homes or townhouses. If we put just a very small section and saved some of that to do some residential properties, like the townhouses that are over by the bank, you could fit about 12 residential homes or properties, townhouse rentals in that area. So we could potentially have additional housing for the people that need it within our community. If you look, even though you can't see the rest of the map here on this page, if you look over farther, there's a huge amount of neighborhood that is just residential. And so if you were to close off that road to prevent very large trucks and whatnot from going that direction, it would preserve the neighborhood. It would make it a more walkable place. So the reason why I'm not voting yes is because there's a lot more that I feel that our city could do in tandem with you. how that happens. I'm not, I can't look in my crystal ball, but I would really appreciate you taking the time to maybe sit down with a planner or other entities and help us make our community better. And I realize you're expanding, and that'll provide jobs, and it will benefit our community. But I'm asking you for more, because as a city, you know, our people need housing.
But Warren Teal is another commercial business on the residential side of the street.
Yep, I'm aware of that.
And then there's another one off of Pomeroy, I believe there's another automotive business. So if you're aware, if you're concerned about businesses being in a residential area, we have 2 businesses in that area already. And there is so much industrial in that area.
It's,
The amount of trucks that are actually hauling, though, from those other 2 small entities isn't really affecting the neighborhood. And I could show you that on a map, so you can kind of see where the residential is on that
In
area.
all due respect, Katie, we restored the house there to create additional housing for people. On that, we put two apartments in there on the property that we're talking about next. I don't see me as a company, I wish I could help you, but I am not interested in building housing for the community. I think that's the city's job, not A1 Plastics' job.
Do you have other rental properties?
No, I didn't.
Well, I would
Not
suggest
for
thinking about it
residents.
and exploring any possibilities.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for providing, you know, some rental housing within that house that is still there. Our community is grateful for it.
well, we have
Something to
another
think about.
hearing now here at 6:15 that we're, for another piece of property that he owns. And this one, is this the one?
Oh, we have to finish voting.
We didn't
You have to go to your other, you have to go to
No,
your
we have to-
public hearing first.
Yeah, yeah, we did vote on it.
You
You
did
did
go
not.
on it.
Yeah, we did. You voted no. And then you said you'd like to discuss it some more.
Right.
Okay.
So now we have to go. So recess and go.
2 yeses, 1 no.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we voted on it. Tart backs me up on it. Okay.
Well, I voted no, I didn't do my check mark, so my check mark means that it was.
Come on, Tart, get on it.
Okay, the next hearing is, I recessed for the hearing, didn't I? Yes. Another property, rezoned from R1 single to 2-family residential to C2 commercial, that continue to use the house as a rental property and fence the rear of the property off for parking and storage of the products. This house will be probably demolished within the next 3 to 5 years. The future goal is to rezone this as industrial and combine the lots. So, nobody's here again for the hearing.
Just one thing on Katie's comment, which is a legitimate concern with the truck traffic. I don't believe it will increase to any severity based on the truck traffic that's already coming in there off of Painesville Farmers Union, that is at the very north end of that street. So we already have truck traffic that is, happening on that street.
They're coming from the front, or they're coming in on Old 23?
On the north side, isn't it?
Well, they're gonna go up Garfield, because they have their brand new warehouse right off Garfield, plus their brand new fertilizer plant.
Senex does.
Senex, Farmers Union, whatever you wanna call them. So I would suspect that if anybody on what Katie calls the residential side of that street, which is the west side, had any issues with commercial or truck traffic, they would be here tonight.
Because they got a letter. The street wouldn't be able to be shut off anyway at the north end.
We're fencing that off.
Yeah.
But the amount of truck traffic that we run on Garfield is very minimal.
Yeah, because you come in from the other.
They mainly come in on Happy Road, 90% of the trucks.
Yeah, you're gonna give yourself a lot more room if you don't, if you close that part off.
Yeah, but I'm more looking for storage of finished goods versus truck traffic. That's not.
Yeah.
Any more discussion of the hearing? Okay. Close the hearing, and we'll open up the meeting again. And we'll go through the finding of facts. At the public hearing, members of the public were given an opportunity to provide comments regarding the request for rezoning. There was no opposition from the public. At the hearings, since nobody was here. The planning board, having considered the request for rezoning together with public comment, the owner's long-term plans for the use of the property, reasons for the requested rezoning, and the zoning of the surrounding properties, believes that the property should be rezoned as requested by the property owner from its current zoning of R1 single and two-family residential to C2 highway commercial, or should not be rezoned. Josh?
Should be.
Katie?
Deny.
Okay. I'll say it should. And then the planning board recommends that the request for rezoning of the property described above be granted so that the property is rezoned from its commercial current zoning of R1 single and two-family residential to C2 highway commercial, or denied so the property remains R1 single. Katie?
No.
Okay, and I'm a yes. So we'll have a motion to approve the report and recommendation of the planning board on rezoning application for AN Properties LLC and recommend such to the city council. I made that motion.
I'll second.
Josh will second it. All those in favor? Aye. No. One no from Katie. Okay, 1 minute, and we have another one. $113 Garfield. That connects to your property already at the east side. There's a lot of co-op property around you.
So you want to,
Hopefully you like your neighbors. I said, hopefully you like your neighbors.
I try to keep peace.
No. Okay, recess the meeting and open up the public hearing for a rezone of WDR Properties LLC. I'm not going to read that long description, track A and B, but it's located at 113 Garfield. I think that's what it was.
Yep.
Good, I'm right, good. That's a
Yeah, some bigger lot.
big, all the way back to his other property.
So if you recall, this is the former MnDOT property. It has a couple small buildings on it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but they want to demo those buildings and build a warehouse. So that will directly impact the taxes that are on that property as an increase.
Yeah, it's an increase, yeah, because they'll have a property. The buildings on it. And we're rezoning it from,
C2 to an I1.
that's what I thought. Commercial to industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah, light industrial, yeah.
And the light industrial will match their current zone of the property to the east of that lot.
Yeah. And eventually you'll make the other two properties probably, like, not in the immediate future.
Yeah, because of the rental property, you can't change to another.
Yeah,
So that's where you save.
long-term plan.
And who knows, maybe we'll do it forever.
This one's already commercials, highway commercial. And since there's nobody else here and no more discussion on the matter, or,
So there's no problem with changing it from a C2 to a light industrial, even though there is residential on?
no, because none of that, it's already C2. You'd have to do a rezone to make it residential. And all Senex.
No, the one
property-
next to it, because there's the
There's all-
two residentials.
There's only one. And the rest are Senex properties.
It's a long property, as you can see.
Right, but 205 and 209 are still residential.
This is the one we just voted
We
to
just
change.
changed for him.
So
There's
technically, we didn't change it yet, and city council has to change it?
Yeah.
council.
This council has to change it, so technically, legally, we have to go through that process first before we do this, right?
No, they're separate properties.
Yeah, these are all separate. This is one separate, that's separate, and that's separate.
And this one's already commercial, we're just making it light industrial.
Okay.
It wasn't residential to start with.
No.
No.
No, but the property next to it is.
So even if 205 and 209 are denied at the council level and they remain residential, Nick can still ask that his C2 property be zoned industrial. The only parameters there is that there has to be a 20-foot wide strip buffer or a fence between the industrial and the residential property.
Otherwise,
If the council does rezone those two residential properties from R1 to C2, that buffer goes away. Because in C2, we are allowed to have
Right.
living, you
Yeah.
have residential living, but it's zoned commercial.
Right, okay. So there's nothing legal preventing that from happening if that stays
No,
residential?
they're independent of each other.
Okay.
No, the bigger thing was is if the council denies Nick of the change from residential to commercial on those two smaller lots, then, and Nick is granted the larger lot for the warehouse, that rezone, then he has to put in a fence
A buffer?
or a buffer strip.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything illegal
No,
in
because it's
regards to
not,
those residential properties, because they haven't been voted upon yet.
and it's
And
not,
I believe behind the duplex, there's at least 30 to 40 feet behind it that they have a yard. Because I didn't want those people not to have a place where the kids can play.
Yeah, just making sure. Want to make sure we get everything.
yeah, so
T's
depending on,
crossed, I's dotted, so that we don't have problems.
so that's why this property is the last one that you're dealing with,
Okay.
for those reasons. So if they deny it, Nick still can get one of them rezoned. He just has to abide by the planting strip of it. Because they're not divided by a street. If it were divided by a street, there's your buffer.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
okay, then we'll recess the or close the hearing, and we'll reopen the council meeting, the planning, to use the council meetings. And go on to the facts and finding. At the public hearing, members of the public were given an opportunity to provide comments regarding the request for rezoning. There was no opposition for the rezoning. The planning board, having considered the request for rezoning together with public comment, the owner's long-term plans for the use of the property, reasons for the requested rezoning and the zoning of the surrounding properties, believes that the property should be rezoned as requested by the property owner from its current zoning C2 highway to L1 light industrial, or should not be rezoned. Josh? Should be. Katie?
Should be.
Okay. Unanimous. And the planning board recommends that the request for rezoning described property be granted, so the property is rezoned from its current zoning, or denied.
Granted.
Granted. Okay. We need a motion to approve the report and recommendation of the planning board on rezoning application for WDR Properties LLC and recommend such to the city council.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay, Josh made that motion. Do you want to second it, Katie? Or do you want me to?
No, you can second.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second it then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passed. I guess that's it for your,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
are these on the council agenda for Monday then? Or going to?
They will be after tonight.
Okay, that's what, I knew we were down to the wire, agenda stuff.
I haven't changed in there, but I have to wait till you guys act on them.
Can I have a meeting with you at some point, just so I can show you on a map, like residential stuff? Is that okay?
Of course, you wanna not be able?
Yeah, is that okay?
You can do it whatever you want.
I mean, I don't have his information, so you would need to give.
Oh, this information's on all the applications.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me see what he can put on there.
He's on Yankee Drive.
Yeah, you guys really wanna tour of Avon Plastics, I think that probably would help.
260-1675, is that a good number for you, Nick?
But if you guys want to tour of the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
or I could set it up and you guys can all come. I think you should go and see.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, no, you're a pillar in our community, so.
I'm self.
Do you want to give me a call next week after Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
We can
we wait till
set
after the holidays.
Something up?
It's okay.
It's one business I haven't been in either, so.
But you guys are all,
Well, we'll make the whole council come.
if they want to, maybe they should.
Yeah.
'Cause it's probably
We'll bring
better,
it-
there's
We'll
no
bring it up
faces.
at the meeting.
We'll chat after Thanksgiving, give me a shout.
Sure. All right.
Thanks.
Good all of you
Good
guys.
day.
Correct.
Okay, back to the planning and zoning training, since we got a couple minutes till center care.
So again, my thought would be is that at the next December, even though it's right before Christmas, we would take the hour. I don't have anything else in the wings to come, but we would do the webinar.
At our meeting on the 19th.
It's 1 hour, we all need to do it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
At least then, it's the 21st, no, excuse me,
19th.
it's the 19th. It'd be 1 hour. If we have any business, we could still take care of it. Then we would do the webinar. Council's gonna probably tackle theirs.
They could come that same night.
Yes, they could. We could do it.
I
We
know it
don't-
might be difficult logistically, but if we can do it.
But we're gonna hopefully have that, panel working.
But we all have Zoom, so, I mean, we all have.
Otherwise, we could also move to the Public Works Garage. And we could have it there. But then, there would be time, you know, if we had it all on one big screen, we could pause it and you guys could discuss things that was said amongst yourselves, and how that relates to Painesville. But then, after the 1 hour webinar, then I would release the interactive thing that's brand new through the league. They just want we're gonna get it for free. They just want our input after it on how they. And then if we don't think that we're comfortable with it, we'll have somebody come.
Okay,
How does that sound?
sounds good.
Sounds like you're awesome.
And we should have a new member by maybe in December.
Possibly, yes, if not after the first of the year. At the end, the webinar we can get anytime.
Yeah.
So that person, then I think we would just say, if you're going to serve on this board, you have to take this webinar training.
Yep.
And then I know that the in-person training, if we decided to do that, would not be until after the first of the year.
Oh,
So we would, you know, it could even be the first part of February. So that person, whoever serves, would for sure get that in.
I gave Sean another name yesterday. That church.
So who is the person that's joining
Well, we
potentially?
don't know. I mean, Sean has to ask him, but his name's Reed Ringstead.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he's on the liquor board.
yeah.
But I asked him and he sounded like he might be interested. Lives over there on Cure Lane. So, anyways. He's on the historical side of it too.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I'll plan for that at the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And if Sean would talk to him and he decides to do it, then we could have him here at that meeting.
Yeah.
It would be good for him.
That would be
I'll put
awesome.
Sean on it.
And then maybe we would have it joint and maybe we would have it at the shops and kind of watch where that location is.
Because, yeah, if we could do it all at one time, for me, I don't want to have to do it twice, and yet it's good to do it with the other council people to have their discussions.
Yeah, and thanks to Katie, I brought it up to Sean, and he thought it was a fantastic idea.
Oh, I think it's a great idea. Okay, nobody's here for the center care, are they coming? Probably not, huh?
No, but you need to recess.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Recess for the last public hearing we have tonight.
I have not heard if they're coming or not. They have a brand new administrator, and he's not actually on yet. He won't be on until the 28th. So I would suspect they are not, nobody's going to be here.
I would suspect that.
Just to give you a little bit of information on this, this is currently a parking lot. It's on its own separate parcel, and CentraCare wants to rezone it to commercial rather than residential. We don't allow parking lots in residential like it is. Part of the parking lot is already zoned commercial for whatever reason.
Part of the parking lot's not, and part of the parking lot
Yeah,
is.
and so I believe at one point that plat, if you'll see the other houses going southerly, southeasterly are all residential. I'm sure they thought that more houses would be built there. There just isn't, it's a parking lot. And then after the rezone, if it is approved, they will be combining that to the main campus.
Yep.
That makes sense. I mean, if you have a big parking lot, you might as well have it all commercial instead of city. And it is all their property. And you're not gonna do any housing. So,
And there is 0 taxes on the parking lot because it's a hospital.
because it's hospital. And they already own it anyways. Anybody else have any questions, comments, discussion?
No.
For the hearing? Okay. We'll close the hearing and reopen this meeting and go through the facts and findings, which I love when there's only 3. Okay. At the public hearing, members of the public were given an opportunity to provide comments regarding the request for rezoning. There was no opposition to the request for rezoning. Nobody. And all the neighbors in that neighborhood got letters too, I'm sure.
Yes, everybody within 350 feet, and I can tell you exactly how many people I sent it to. $32 people.
The planning board, having considered the request for rezoning together with public comment, of which there was none, the owner's long-term plans for the use is just going to contain the same use, reasons for the requested rezoning, and the zoning of the surrounding properties believes that the property should be rezoned as requested by the property owner from its current zoning of R1 single and 2-family to C2 highway commercial, or should not be rezoned as requested by the property owner.
Should be.
Should be, Katie? Should be, okay. Should be. Recommendation, the planning board recommends that the request for rezoning of the property described above be granted, that the property is rezoned, or denied.
Granted.
Okay. And motion to approve the report recommendation of planning board on rezoning application for CentraCare Health Painesville LLC and recommend such to the city council. I made the motion.
Second?
Katie seconded it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passed. Anything else for our agenda? We went through the building permits and we got our next meeting scheduled 19th, so we can, and if there's nothing else for the meeting, we are adjourned.